Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about snitch culture. In the past 22 years, there's been a strong increase in surveillance. There's been a cultural shift away from minding your damn business to snooping and snitching on your neighbors. You saw this during the pandemic most recently. You saw this year after year after the September 11th attacks in 2001. Just 6 weeks after the September 11th attacks, a panicked Congress passed the USA Patriot Act, officially called Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism Act. It was quickly developed as an anti-terrorism legislation in response to the attacks. The large and complex law received little congressional oversight and debate and was signed into law by President George W. Bush on October 26, 2001. Again, only 6 weeks after the September 11th attacks.
You were saying it takes a long time to write a bill. So do you think that bill was written before, or you think the bill was written because?
It takes months to write a bill. This bill in particular is 300 pages. This is the first one. And there was two. There was like a remix that came out with like years later. Yep. But the first one was 300 pages. It came out 6 weeks after the attacks. And if you remember at that time when you watched the news or read newspapers, there were congressmen that basically said, hey, we didn't read this. We just signed it. And so that is a way for them like to scapegoat or shirk responsibility by saying they didn't read it. We just wanted to be patriotic because we knew this was the good stuff and it would protect everybody. But they didn't realize what was in that bill and what type of rights were being given up by them signing this bill.
That was a big deal when they were talking about Ron Paul. And somebody in one of the interviews asked him, how come they say you vote no on damn near every bill? He's asking, why is that? He said, because I read them. He said, whenever you read these things, they're not what you think they are. They slap a pretty name on them, or they stick them out there for a crisis, but there's hangers on to the bill that three other things, with funding for this. And he said, there's no way that most of you that you would agree with if you read the whole thing. We know this for a fact, based on what Ron Paul was saying. Those senators were telling the truth. They heard the name Patriot Act. They said it's because of 9/11, and they just signed off on it. Now we're dealing with this surveillance state that we thought would never happen in America, and that shit is everywhere.
And it has not gone away.
No.
What people have to understand is that after September 11th happened, the entire country was shut down. You couldn't go anywhere. You could not leave the country. And for days at a time, there were no airplanes in the sky, which means there were no chemtrails. The sky was completely clear. It was a trip. And everything was shut down. There was heightened security for this, that, and the third. It was very similar to the pandemic lockdown, but even more draconian. And so there was this sense that, okay, we're doing this for patriotism and to protect the country. And everybody thought, all right, this is going to be temporary, and this will wear off in like a couple of weeks, and everything's back to normal. This is wartime.
Hey,
nope,
there's two things.
That's not the case. Okay. That's not the case at all. So then it's like a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later, and they're like, hey, y'all can settle down with this shit now.
It got to be annoying. Hold it. The two things that stick out were, I remember, I remember where I was, blah, blah, blah. But I remember being a kid and going to the airport and watching airplanes, or like your family would come in and you would meet them at the gate.
Right.
You can't do that no more. You still ain't doing that shit. I think that's crazy. I think we complain because the biggest thing, you were talking about comparing it to COVID. We couldn't, during 9/11, you couldn't leave the country. You could fly a little bit, but you couldn't leave the country. And I guess that's a similarity, but we were leaving our houses though. I remember when shit happened. I walked down to the homeboy's house and I remember talking to my ex from college on the phone, and she's telling me like, hey man, this shit just happened. And she thought it was China. Me and you had this talk. She said, hey, I think it's China that did the shit. We had it was such a focal point of conversation where it took over everything and everybody, even homeless people. You see a motherfucker on a corner with a sign, but they would say something about the terrorists. This is the new Pearl Harbor. Everybody was talking about it.
It's odd. When I go back in my mind to that, I don't remember seeing a lot of homeless people on the street at that time.
Honestly, Omaha doesn't have a lot.
See, but Atlanta has a history of rounding up the homeless people. And
no shit.
Yeah, because I remember I was down here for the Olympics. I came down here to visit Atlanta in 96 because I'd just come back living in Miami. And the preparation for the 1996 Olympics, they got rid of all visible signs of homelessness.
Yep.
They tore down projects. Dude, they put homeless people on buses and got them out of town. They sent them to California and to Texas, like any place. Yo, where you want to go? Okay, come on, let's go. You getting out of here. You're leaving. Like, you're a blight on this city. You're leaving. Because they didn't want the inbred relatives to be visible at this family reunion they was about to have with the world.
I think that what we don't realize, there's so many different things that took place that are now commonplace in society because of that shit. And I remember that. So I just knew that George Bush wasn't going to get a second term. You know what I'm saying? I just knew it. And I'm like, I don't remember who was Bob Dole. I don't remember who it was. And I just remember so many, when George Bush won, they interviewed all these young people, not old people, all these young people. Yeah, we need a strong leader that's going to fight this, that, and another. And I believe he will. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And look, that's back when I was super, Democrat. Now I'm like, look, fuck both parties. But I just couldn't believe that they saw it that way. And I'm like, for real? Like y'all don't think the fix is in? Y'all really going for that shit?
No, the part that was amazing to me is how the Bush presidency would lie week after week after week. Because what they would do is they would say one thing, and then the next week they're like, oh, no, that's not true. And I'm like, hold on a second. Is everybody asleep right now? Is this real? Y'all are telling bald-ass lies to people week after week. And what they say one week contradicts what they say that following week. And I'm like, dude, there's no consistency here.
Roscoe, there's two things missing from when we were kids to now. Assassination attempts. How many times did they try to kill fucking Ronald Reagan? How many times did they try to kill Jerry Ford?
No. Listen. Hold it. Yes, there are assassination attempts. You forgetting about the Clinton body count. See, here's the thing. No. Hold on, wait.
I mean, on Clinton. I don't mean the people Clinton killed to further his agenda. I'm referring
no, but they are straight up assassinating people. Gaddafi, they did that shit out in the public.
No, you misunderstood.
Saddam Hussein did that shit out in the public. Oh, spider hole Saddam?
Yeah. No, I'm referring to on our president.
You talking about writ large?
No, I'm talking about here in America.
No, writ large as in out in the public eye.
Yeah. Well, what I'm referring to, like, okay, the last time somebody took a shot at a president was when that nigga threw a shoe at George Bush. But now, and what you're saying is these things are probably happening. We're not hearing about it. I don't think so. I think that we're so complacent. Look, here's the thing about 9/11, because I was in Oklahoma for the Oklahoma bombing. Up to that point, we thought terrorism didn't exist anymore. But if you do your research, America's always had bombings. We just talked about the Weathermen on the last podcast. They tried to blow up the White House. We talked about the Black Panthers. We talked about SNITCH, which were white organizations. The Puerto Ricans back in '84, when they put a vote and they became part of America, you had some Puerto Ricans over here blowing up buildings saying stay out their business. We didn't want this. We're so confused. The only time we see an explosion now is on an action movie. You dig what I'm saying?
But this is the problem. The hits that are happening now and the bombs that are going off now, Operation Mockingbird and MK Ultra is so much stronger now that you can change what people see and think.
Look, we're in agreement. All I'm saying is back in the day, if a congressman or a senator I voted for you. And if that congressman or that senator voted for some fucking chemical shit that wasn't right, that nigga might lose his life. That bitch might get shot. That's what I'm talking about. And so I'm not encouraging violence, but I'm encouraging, I am. Fuck this shit. Look, you got to understand that people should be held accountable for what they vote for. You see the parliaments in these other countries get in a fist fight, because that's how real African nations, European nations, that they get in fist fights. And so it's just crazy, because the reason we don't is because all these motherfuckers are millionaires, if not billionaires. And all they do is manipulate the markets and don't really take care of the people. This is some deep shit. There's a video of Kobe Covington and George Masvidal, and it's being narrated by Morgan Freeman, and he defines the difference between a snitch and a rat. And he says, see, I thought a snitch was worse, but
no, that's not him. That is a deep fake of his voice.
Yeah, that's fine. But the point is, he's defining the definition of a snitch in a rat. He says a snitch is a person telling on somebody they're minding everybody else's business. The same shit you're saying. That's minds other people's business. A rat is a betrayer. So a rat is a motherfucker. We're doing a crime together, and because I didn't get away or because I didn't get what I wanted, I'm ratting somebody out. Like we all going down. That's not supposed to happen. A snitch, on the other hand, I remember, you in Behold a Pale Horse, he had talked about that where people will start, the kids will start telling on their own parents. They'll start with shit like Boy Scouts or in grade school having these agendas, and next thing you know, these kids will be calling on their parents over drugs. My dad smoked weed. I remember there's a rumor that shit happened to somebody we know. I don't know if it's true or not because life is whatever. But they're talking about where your kids will get rewards for policing their parents, and you would think to yourself, that's some crazy shit. What goes on in this house stays in this house. We all tried that shit. But the problem is when you try to tell that to your kids, they think you're talking about some crazy shit. No, if I discipline my child, that's my business. But now you're not allowed to discipline your child.
Okay, check it out. So the Patriot Act gives sweeping search and surveillance to domestic law enforcement and foreign intelligence agencies and eliminates checks and balances that previously gave courts the opportunity to ensure that these powers were not abused. Patriot and follow-up legislation now in development threaten the basic rights of millions of Americans. The law and subsequent revelations about government surveillance of Americans also helped push a GOP-dominated Congress to move the narrow scope. The law also ultimately helped force into public sphere a debate over the conflict between the government's desire to protect its citizens and its citizens' civil liberties. The Patriot Act went far beyond technological updating, and it was passed in the heat of the moment and went too far, said one Peter Swire, a professor of law and ethics at the Georgia Institute of Technology, Georgia Tech, who served as part of President Obama's review group on intelligence and communications technology. The review group was formed after whistleblower Edward Snowden had revealed the government's domestic surveillance programs. So, Edward Snowden he used to work for a contractor that worked for the NSA. So in June 2013, media outlets reported the first leak based on top secret documents that then 29-year-old Edward Snowden stole from the NSA. At the time, Snowden worked as an intelligence contractor for Booz Allen Hamilton in Hawaii. Snowden downloaded up to 1.5 million files, according to the national intelligence officials, before jetting from Hawaii to Hong Kong to meet with journalists Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. After he handed off his treasure trove of documents, he left Hong Kong and later became stranded in Moscow. His future was far from certain, as journalists he trusted started revealing his secrets. I wonder if he went to Moscow, to Russia, because he knew it would be hard for them to get him over there.
Yeah, it was about protection, remember? Because he bounced around to Brazil, some other places too. But it was all about him.
Safety.
Not extradition.
Extradition. Because, so there's no extradition from Russia. So, of course, he's safe over there. But check this out. With the top secret court order, the NSA collected telephone records from millions of Verizon customers on June the 6th, 2013. On June the 7th, 2013, the NSA accessed and collected data through backdoors into the U.S. internet companies such as Google and Facebook with a program called PRISM. So I want to continue to go down this list of all these things that were leaked by Snowden. On June the 7th, an 18-page presidential memo shows Obama ordering intelligence officials to draw up a list of overseas targets for cyber attacks. You remember back around that time, that's when he cut off the internet to North Korea.
Yep.
That was also around the time of the Sony hack. All right, check it out. Documents revealed on June the 8th. Documents revealed the NSA's Boundless Informant program, which gave the agencies near real-time ability to understand how much intelligence coverage there is on certain areas through a use of a heat map. Very interesting. Very interesting. On June the 13th, 2013, the next leak was the NSA was hacking computers in Hong Kong and mainland China, and a few were military systems.
don't forget the most important part. Well, we were eavesdropping on our ally. I think it was like the president or whatever of Brazil and these other people. It was a bunch of these other people that were supposed to be our friends, and they had Verizon phones, and we were listening to their conversations. We were taking so that's what on the international level that's a big deal. On the local level, these motherfuckers were just listening to us for no reason. You didn't have to be on some terror list or anything else. And that goes back to that's that residue from the Patriot Act that you were talking about. And like I said, the Snowden thing on our individual basis, in the first thing out of somebody's mouth, they can listen to you in this. Oh, if you tell somebody they're listening to you on the cell phone, yeah, they're listening to me. That's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. You're not everybody's a criminal. You're not a
People
criminal.
began to be accustomed to having their privacy invaded and surrendering their rights to privacy, and they became okay with it, and then there's this like whole idea about, well, I have nothing to hide, so I don't care if they look. No. Hey, listen, if you're okay with that, go move to another country. Because in this country, we have the right to privacy. So let me finish with this long list of these leaks that Snowden gave out. So on June the 16th, 2013, he leaked a document that said Britain's GCHQ, which is an intelligence agency, intercepted phone and internet communications of foreign politicians attending two G20 meetings in London in 2009. On June the 20th, 2013, top secret procedures show steps the NSA must take to target and collect data from non-U.S. persons and how it must minimize data collected on U.S. citizens. The next day, on June the 21st, Britain's GCHQ taps fiber optic cables, which means undersea cables, to collect and store global email messages, Facebook posts, internet histories, and calls, and then shares the data with the NSA. So let me stop here for a second. Years ago, probably 1997, 98, I used to read Wired magazine a lot. Wired magazine had an article about these guys that were deep sea divers. And what they were doing is they were installing undersea cable to connect the continents together with data. So the internet across the world is not connected with satellites. It's connected with undersea cable that goes to across the ocean floor, okay, in the most shallow parts of the ocean. So North America and Europe is connected by undersea data cables. And this article is about these guys that were installing this cable. What they're talking about right here on June the 21st is how GCHQ, one of Britain's intelligence agencies, was tapping this fiber optic cable to get the emails that were coming across the ocean, okay? So understand what's going on here.
Like, you feel secure, but if anybody who like doesn't agree with us, look at the example that's going on right now with Taiwan. So China just had an exercise where they attacked the underwater cables of Taiwan's internet, and it shows a map of Taiwan and all their underwater cables. Like, literally, these cables are what connects the world. And you're like you said, you thinking this is some through the air magic shit. No, this shit is physical, and the cables. And so one of these exercises is China they did an exercise. They didn't do it, but they disabled a couple of the internet cables that connect Taiwan to the rest of the world. And that's just an example of what my brother's talking about when Roscoe's telling you that, yeah, we're connected by wires,
dude,
by fiber optics.
I remember they were installing Google Fiber in the neighborhood that I was living in 2018. These people came knocking on my door, canvassing, asking if I would like Google Fiber. I told them to fuck off, kick rocks. I said, Google is the devil. And I slammed the fucking door. Once you invite that demon into your home, that's it.
It's a vampire. If you invite him in,
you have to give him permission, though.
Yeah, your holy water doesn't work anymore. Your crosses don't work. You invited me in. You saw Lost Boys. Aren't you going to invite me in?
Oh, shit. Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Jumping ahead 6 days to June 27, 2013, the NSA has a program codenamed Evil Olive that collects and stores large quantities of Americans' internet metadata, which contains only certain information about online content. Email metadata, for example, reveals the sender and recipient's addresses and time, but not content or subject. So, even if you aren't reading the emails, you can say, all right, well, Jim Brown and Al Pacino were emailing each other at this date, at this frequency. So we know that you were talking to him. So, okay, we won't read your emails, but we're going to get the metadata that says, hey, we know how much emails you send out per week. We know who you're talking to. We just, because the rules have been changed, quote unquote, on paper, we can't read your emails. Oh, okay, so you still spying on me. That's still spying, dude. Whether you're reading the whole email or you just figuring out who I'm sending the email to, you're spying. So, look, same day, another leak. It says, until 2011, the Obama administration permitted the NSA's continued collection of vast amounts of Americans' emails and internet metadata under a Bush-era program called Stellar Wind. 2 days later, on June 29th, 2013, another leak. The U.S. government bugged the offices of the European Union in New York, Washington, and Brussels. The next day, on June 30th, the U.S. government spies on at least 38 foreign embassies and missions using a variety of electronic surveillance methods. Same day, another leak. The NSA spies on millions of phone calls, emails, and text messages of ordinary German citizens. July the 6th, 2013. Using a program called Fairview, the NSA intercepts internet and phone call data of Brazilian citizens. There you go. Same day, another leak. Monitoring stations set up in Australia and New Zealand help feed back data to the NSA's X-Keyscore program. 3 days later, on July 9th, 2013, the NSA conducts surveillance on citizens in a number of Latin American countries, including Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Panama, Ecuador, Peru, and others. The agency also sought information on oil, energy, and trade. Oh, this is Skull and Bones, motherfucker. This is what this is. Look, July 10th, next day. The Washington Post publishes a new slide detailing the NSA's upstream program of collecting communications from tech companies through fiber optic cables to then feed it to its PRISM database. What did I just say? July 20th. Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, BND, helps contribute to the NSA's X-Keyscore program. July 31st, 2013. NSA analysts using the X-Keyscore program can search through enormous databases of emails, online chats, browsing histories of targets. August 1st, same year. The U.S. government paid Britain's GCHQ roughly $155 million over 3 years to gain access and influence over its spying programs. Wow. August 2nd. 7 of the world's leading telecommunication companies provide GCHQ with secret, unlimited access to their network of undersea cables. What the fuck did I just say? August the 2nd. The NSA provided surveillance to U.S. diplomats in order to give them the upper hand in negotiations at the UN Summit of Americas. A week later, August 8th, the NSA sifts through vast amounts of Americans' emails and text message communications going in and out of the country. Next day, August 9th, internal NSA document reveals an agency loophole that allows a secret backdoor for the agency to search its databases for U.S. citizens' emails and phone calls without a warrant. August 12th, NSA collection of Japan is reportedly maintained at the same priority as France and Germany. Nandeska. August 15th, the NSA broke privacy rules thousands of times per year, according to an internal audit. Again, I'm going to read that one more time. The NSA broke privacy rules thousands of times per year. Thousands of times per year, according to an internal audit on August 15th, 2013.
Hey, Roscoe. So, Roscoe, do you think this is our chickens coming home to roost now with all these countries who are joining that Brexit shit where you're buying gold and getting that Russian, the Chinese oolong, whatever it is, to buy oil?
Yeah.
Because before these were our allies, but if you pay attention, we betrayed a lot of people, and so now all of a sudden,
they find out about this shit and they're like, well, fuck y'all.
Yeah. So Japan bought some oil from Russia with the damn Chinese money. Brazil, all these countries. See, and I'm telling you, like you don't spy on somebody. It's just so disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be allies. We're supposed to be against the bad guys, but you're treating me like a bad guy. It don't sit right with everybody. You dig? So
Right. Check this out. August 23rd, 2013. NSA analysts revealed to have sometimes spied on love interests, with the practice common enough to have coined the term lovint, Lovint, or love intelligence, or love intercepts. It was unclear whether this report came from Snowden documents. Wow. August 23rd, the same day. Britain runs a secret internet monitoring station in the Middle East to intercept emails, phone calls, and web traffic. Independent reports citing Snowden documents. Independent reports citing Snowden documents. Snowden denies giving the Independent any documents, alleging the UK government leaked them in an attempt to discredit him. On August 29th, the leak that passed that day, the top secret U.S. intelligence black budget is revealed for 2013, with 16 spy agencies having a budget of $52.6 billion. 16 spy agencies? Damn.
crazy.
Hold on. So the black budget for 2013 was giving $52.6 billion to 16 spy agencies. Wow. Anyway, same day, August 29th, expanding upon data gleaned from the black budget expanding upon data gleaned from the black budget, the NSA is found to be paying hundreds of millions of dollars each year to its U.S. companies for the access to their networks. August 30th, the next day, the U.S. carried out 231 offensive cyber attacks in 2011. August 31st, the NSA hacked into Qatar-based media network Al Jazeera, their international communication system. September 1st, 2013. The NSA spied on former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff and Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto, who was the candidate at the time, on September 1st. All right, so September the 2nd, using a man-in-the-middle attack, NSA spied on Google, the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, and the Brazilian oil company Petrobras. September the 3rd, a U.S. intelligence black budget reveals Al-Qaeda's effort to jam, hack, and or shoot down U.S. surveillance drones. September the 5th, the leak for that day was a joint investigation by ProPublica, the New York Times, and The Guardian finds the NSA is winning its war against the internet encryption with supercomputers and technical know-how and court orders. September 7th. The NSA has the ability to access user data for most major smartphones on the market, including Apple iPhones, BlackBerry, and Google Android phones. September 11th, 2013. The NSA shares raw intelligence data with information about American citizens to Israel with an information sharing agreement. September 16th. The NSA monitors banks and credit institutions for a comprehensive database that can track the global flow of money. September the 20th. Britain's GCHQ launched a cyber attack against Belgacom, a party state-owned Belgian telecommunications company. September 23rd, 2013. The leak for that day was the NSA spies on Indian diplomats and other officials in an effort to gain an insight into the country's nuclear and space programs. Ooh. September 25th, 2013. The NSA's internal wiki website characterizes political and legal opposition to drone attacks as part of propaganda campaigns from America's adversaries. September 28, 2013. The last one. Since 2010, the NSA has used metadata augmented with other data from public, commercial, and other sources to create sophisticated graphs that map Americans' social connections. I got to read this one more time. Since 2010, the NSA has used metadata augmented with other data from public, commercial, and other sources to create sophisticated graphs to map Americans' social connections.
Look, that's how I got hooked on the internet. I remember my homeboy, I was late to the party. I was really interested. I used it in college, blah, blah, blah. But then then I bought my house, and my friend like, hey, you need a computer, blah, blah, blah. You need to get on the internet. And the first thing you do was get on the internet. It was MySpace. And you start talking to women on MySpace.
What year did you buy the first house?
98. So 98 is when all this shit happened.
So you didn't get on the internet till 98?
Nope. I mean,
that's bullshit because you were on the internet in college.
No, I wasn't. I used the internet at school, but I did not have. You went to my crib. I had no internet connection. I didn't even have a computer. You forget, in college, I did not have a computer. I would go to the computer lab, type up my shit, and go on about my business.
Hold on a second. Remember? That's crazy, man, because I pretty much had been on the internet since graduating high school.
Nope, not me.
Yeah, and it was because the reason why I got on the internet is because of music.
Yeah. No. Okay. Like I said, think about it. The reason you say that because I was one of the first people to have a computer when we were kids. We talked about this all the time. Like I was in second grade, first grade, we had computers, but once I got older, I hated them. I had a disdain for them. It's hard to explain. And so I'm in college. The only time
because you just saw it as a tool that you use for work and education.
Yeah. No, that's it. But also, you're gonna laugh. Terminator, shit like that. I didn't.
You took it serious.
Mind, yeah, I know you're gonna make fun of me. I took that shit serious.
No.
At an early age, because I'm like, man, every movie we saw growing up, War Games with Matthew Broderick, it was always about people hacking into something or computers for this or and I'm like, man, this shit, I didn't want to be controlled by computers. So I get to college, and we just talked about this. I got out of music, and not because it was so much hip hop coming out. You gotta remember when you were kids, we literally could go to Leola's and buy every hip hop album, like release dates. And we were buying everything from West Coast, East Coast. Yeah, it wasn't a down south that much.
Midwest.
So what?
Midwest.
Yeah. Oh, you had like Crucial Conflict. You had Twista.
No, I mean you had shit out of Midwest. You had Detroit hip hop. You had Chicago hip hop. You had Texas hip hop. You know, and I would buy shit from local motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so when I get to college, people kept trying to push these different MCs and shit down my throat, and I was hanging around West Coast dudes, and they're like, "Hey, man, well, East Coast, literally." They start the East Coast West Coast thing started much earlier. They were saying the same thing Ice Cube came out and said, like, hey, bro, like everywhere I go, we play everybody's music, but you get to New York, they don't play our, that kind of shit. So I was kind of disenfranchised, if you want. And so I really stopped listening to hip hop. It was the light skinned homeboy Floyd. Remember, they kept like, hey man, this. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm cool. And
hold on, what was Floyd saying to you?
He loved Wu-Tang Clan. He loved Akinyele. He thought You God was a good MC. I'm like, look, nah.
I think that's why me and Floyd got along, because we both like East Coast shit.
Yeah. Hey, like I said,
But the thing is though, but you was bringing East Coast mixtapes back.
Yes.
For your trips to New York and shit when we was in fucking high school.
Yeah, but when I got to college, I thought this shit became a caricature. Kind of like everybody was saying kind of silly shit. I don't know. And
no. Listen, I think I know what it is. This is a hell of a sidebar, but I think you got tired of the backpacker culture.
Dude, Buckshot Shorty, them niggas, it annoyed me.
Really? You didn't like Black Moon?
I like Black Moon, but I didn't like the you
didn't like the baggage that came with the shit.
Yeah, it was, and even now, like when you see a kid get in a fight and he's wearing a backpack, it does something to me. I'm like, dude, take that off. that impedes your ability to find. But no, it was just. But like I said, that my I had when I got there, I stopped buying music. I still fuck
What
with
okay, so like what I the vibe I got from like East Coast hip hop, you only had two type of dudes. You had street nerds and you had thug motherfuckers. And the street nerds were the backpacker type of dudes.
yes.
And
I'm
then
gonna get you're gonna
hang
laugh.
on, hang on. And then you had thug motherfuckers that was like MOP.
How about you remember Positive K? Yeah, he was a lighthearted rapper,
He was
but
he was he was on some player type shit.
yeah, but I remember him beating up some gangster dudes. Like when that happened, that's when my whole aura of hip hop, like this motherfucker is supposed to be. I ain't having it. He's supposed to be kind of a funny, lighthearted rapper, but the nigga was
Because
hard.
he from the streets.
Yes, yes. And but these motherfuckers who were pretending to be from the streets, I ain't gonna say no names, but we know some people like that.
Bro.
Uh,
Okay.
they would use them.
We gotta wrap up this section because this is about
I'm
the fucking
about to.
Patriot Act.
I,
This is like
I
a
am.
long ass rant, dude.
No. Check this out. Just because you use a lot of slang doesn't mean that you're gangster. That's all. That's all I got to say about that. And that's what happened. Um, like I said,
Man,
I
I
got
can't
away
tell
from.
you how many like New York dudes I punked because they just thought they tough because they from New York. I'm like, man, I will fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, don't come in
Calm
with that
down.
bullshit.
Calm down. But I left computers alone. We got into computers early on, back in grade school. When I got to college, I left them alone. I no longer had a computer. Right at the maybe junior year, I didn't have a computer anymore. And then I got to college, junior year in high school, excuse me. Then I get to college, and I only use, I was broke, but I only used the computer lab. I literally got out. So then in '98, I buy my house, and maybe around, I buy my house August of '98, and maybe September, November, I get a computer. And I get wrapped up, and like I said, the first thing you get wrapped up in was social media. Was at the time it was MySpace, and that's how they got you. And looking, talking to women, seeing people's MySpace page from all over. MySpace was way better than Facebook, just for the record. Let's just put that out there. But that was your introduction to social media.
So, but here's the thing though, like for me, what got me using computers heavily was college. And not because of homework or anything like that, or writing papers, is because two programs, Final Cut Pro, which
Yep.
is for editing film and like video footage, and then Pro Tools. I learned both those in college, Pro Tools and Final Cut Pro and After Effects. And you had to have an Apple computer, a fucking Power Mac, a strong Power Mac to do this shit. And that became the drive, is like, get a fucking Mac Tower, so you can do the work you need to do. And it was just a means to an end. But while you got your computer on, like when you're not using it for that, you got a video card or you got an internet card in there, airport card, and you get online. Well, to me, that was like going into forums and talking to people about cinematography, or I would, talk to people about music shit. I'll be looking up music shit like, yo, why does this compressor sound like this when I put it on a guitar? Or why does this pedal sound like this when I put it on like, a keyboard?
You were sharing information.
I
You were
was sharing
knowledge.
information, you know what I mean? And so then, and then eBay. When eBay came along in like 97, like eBay was what really got me on the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what I'm saying is like outside of like, okay, I was using eBay before college. You know what I'm saying? But like when I went to college,
shit. No shit.
But when I went to college, because see, I went to college after you did, and so because I went out in the world and fucking like lived. You know what I'm saying? And like learned and traveled, and then I went to college. You know what I'm saying? And so then when I went to college, that's when I got on like all this computer shit. But I was buying like Dragon Ball Z tapes,
You see, yeah,
online and shit from motherfuckers in Japan, through the internet.
But you,
But it
but you were
connected me
ordering
to the
that shit
world. But see,
before.
I've always been that guy because I was a dude that was calling Los Angeles when I was 8 years old or 9 years old to find out where can I get these props they use in these ninja movies.
Look, Ninja, you had Ninja Scrolls back when we were in high school. You
Yes,
know,
these are
yeah. And
facts.
so, but this is also the part that we're trying to explain to you. When you sit here and say them collecting your metadata doesn't matter, or them collecting your data doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because something as trivial as your buying habits can be used against you. Something as trivial as your interests can be used the fuck against you, and that's the whole thing, and that's what's going on. And people don't see it that way. Like, it doesn't. They can, yes, they can get your information, but they shouldn't have it. Like, and then they hit you with the convenience. Hey, we'll save your credit card number, or connect PayPal to this account. Like, they're doing you a favor. No, look, stand strong, people. Wake the fuck up. Your privacy is should be guarded like your daughter's virginity, my nigga. You like, hey, I'm not letting her go there. No, you should not be sharing this information, or they shouldn't be taking it without your permission either. And this goes back to what my brother was saying about a snitch culture. When you're snitching, you're minding other people's business. When you sit here, like, you remember them people that didn't like you, like pulling in their driveway by accident. You know, they would call the police on you, or they were like, your ball came in my yard, and they would
Yeah,
call
but
the
now you're
police.
getting shot by motherfuckers like that.
That's a complicated conversation. But you remember them people
A
that
white
just,
girl got shot and killed over that shit
yeah,
by white people.
yes. But back in the day, what happened if your ball went in somebody's yard, and you would go knock on the door as a kid, like, hey, can I get my ball? And they would say yes or no. But now these motherfuckers are saying that you're trespassing, trying to shoot you, like crazy shit. Look,
But then
you got
see, okay, but here's the thing though, like people leaking this information and telling the public about the dangers of what the government was doing goes back even to
yeah, yep. The black,
1967,
the Black
or
Panthers
excuse
and
me,
the SNITCH movement.
1971, because um, the Pentagon Papers, which was officially titled the Report of the Office of the Secretary of Defense Vietnam Task Force, was commissioned by the Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara in 1967. In June of 1971, small portions of the report were leaked to the press by Daniel Ellsberg, and it was widely
Look,
distributed. But
e-
listen,
e-
it happened again recently. So there's this guy that was serving in the Massachusetts National Air Guard, and this
mhm.
guy named Jack Teixeira, he was charged in a federal court on April 14th, 2023, this year. And the leaked intelligence material first appeared on a Discord chat room in which Jack Teixeira is said to have been the administrator. The members of that Discord would often discuss geopolitical affairs and wars. The initial leaks were in the form of paragraphs of text, according to the affidavit, but Teixeira then moved on to posting photographs of documents in January. Teixeira worked as an IT specialist in the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts National Air Guard, based at Otis Air National Guard Base in western Cape Cod. The National Guard is a reservist wing of the U.S. Air Force. They are not employed full-time in the military, but can be deployed when necessary. Teixeira's official title was Cyber Defense Operations Journeyman, according to the criminal complaint filed in the Boston court. He held the rank of Airman First Class, a relatively junior or low position. So, you know,
Hey, I remember this when we talk about. So, if you're black, if you've heard of the King Alfred Plan. Gil Scott Heron did a song called the King Alfred Plan, and I guess that was came out like in 69, 68. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. But the King Alfred Plan was what they were doing. They were going to round all the black people up if we became too roused, fucked up, or too whatever, and they were going to put us in the same concentration camps they put the Asian Americans in during World War II.
internment camps, Japanese
Internment
people.
camps. Japanese people. Well, no, they did. That's the crazy part. They didn't just have Japanese in them. If you looked Japanese, if you looked Asian, they were sticking some people. So that's why these Koreans be getting money now. But hold on, I digress. So the King Alfred plan is from the '60s. Well, in the late '90s, a computer was found in the airport. It was supposed to belong to some special person. Some NSA whatever lost it, and there's maps in there of a modern day King Alfred plan, and there were details of how they would do it. And the only thing that was different was like there were two states that were because the country is divided up in sections. So these sections were the same as the King Alfred plan, except for Louisiana was joined with like whatever's next to like Alabama or some shit, and there's only slight differences. And they explained how these local sheriff departments and these local have people that are on the payroll who are like reserve sheriff, and they're all these crazy white boys, and how they have these defense budgets going to these small towns for this shit right here. So if the shit ever hit so you were using racists to police black people in the event that we ever had a big race riot in this country. And so when you see that it was the same as the one from the 60s, this one in the 90s, it lets you know that because people try to tell you that original King Alfred plan was that's not real. That's just some urban legend shit. But then when you realize that those same boundaries still exist except for a small area, that's when you realize that they're literally using that's a snitch mentality. You're literally policing other people. Like, I'm getting ready to shoot black people in case they do something. You're using racism to build your underground police force. This is some real shit. Look this up. We're not making this shit up. This is not something this is not conjecture. So in this day and age, with all these surveillance cameras and all this shit, yeah, people love to mind everybody else's business. I think that's also part of the gossip culture. I think another way that they get people sucked in is when you watch TMZ and hey, this guy beat up his girlfriend, or this girl, the reality show boom started, of course, with the Kardashians and Kim Kardashian sex tape. Next thing you know, she has a show. Next thing you know, she's married to Kanye. Oh no, she married the basketball player first, and that kind of shit. People love gossip and they love talking about it, but they don't see it as snitching. Think about it. During World War II, they had cartoons. Loose lips sink ships. Don't talk about to your neighbor. Don't talk about anything. You don't know where the spies are. We came out of
complete opposite of now.
Yes, you knew where I was going with this. We came out of World War II not being tattletales. Remember when me and you were in kindergarten? If I told on you, the teachers, at some point she's like, "Look, you're a tattletale. Stop being a tattletale." But you're the teacher. You're supposed to be like, "No, don't be a tattletale." You remember that?
Yeah.
We were in class together. We were told, "Don't be a tattletale." And that mentality of America was like, you're independent. If the cop catches me doing something is one thing, but if my neighbor tells a cop, that motherfucker's not to be trusted. Do you understand? And we've gotten away from that. And I know you know me about tangents, but this ain't a tangent. I'm talking about this was all encompassing. When we were kids, we were told not to be tattletales. We were told to take care of ourselves. And here's where I think it got warped, because there's this so-called fake-ass gangster mentality, which you were just talking about. So remember when they would interview Suge or Cameron? Suge was like, hey, they said, "Would you talk to the police about anything?" No. What if you got a serial killer next door? He said, "Man, that's a cop's job." Look, that's been warped, because right now, like, you got little kids in the hood getting shot by stray bullets and bullshit. No, that's not the same thing. It's one thing if we're sitting here and we're both gang members. I'm not going to tell on another gang member, or if you do tell another, that's because y'all was together in that shit. But when a civilian gets hit, that's different. You're supposed to take care, like, hey, this is still my community. This is still where I live. This is still my, like, if you know something, speak up. Those are two different things. That's not snitching when somebody hurts a child. That's not snitching when somebody shoots an old lady or somebody breaks into an old lady's house. That's not snitching. That's just fucking decency. Now, if y'all motherfuckers are shooting each other back and forth, y'all getting in fights in the street, man on man, fuck the cops. That ain't their business. But if you talking about law and order, and you talking about somebody breaking in somebody's house and it's a little old lady, and y'all motherfuckers is wrong for that, y'all that's wrong. That's wrong. That's not snitching. There's a difference. And so, but going back to what I was saying, when we was kids, we were told not to tattletale. like, hey, such and such is doing this. Man, you're a tattler. So we got teased for that shit. Bullying.
Or ostracized.
Yes. Like the whole bullying thing. Your parents might tell you, tell your teacher, but after the second time, your parents are gonna tell you, beat that nigga up. beat that nigga's ass. So because It's only one cure for bullying. It ain't an after school special, I
No, it's an
assure you.
ass whooping.
Yes. So, but that's what we're going through. We're in a society now where talent is. I remember. I've done a crime here too. I remember me and the light skinned homeboy we were talking about earlier. I think we broke into a vending machine on campus one time. So we put a cinder block down and we tipped the machine over and broke it when it fell on it, and we just took everything out. But not nowadays they got cameras everywhere. I remember being in college, fucking a couple girls in public. They got cameras that you can't do the shit we did. You
No,
know,
no.
you can't even have a childhood anymore. And because of social media, you're holding somebody drafted to the NFL, somebody becomes a congressman or a congresswoman, and all of a sudden, because of a tweet, something she did in high school, or because somebody grabbed a tit in third grade, all of a sudden they're a child molester. And then you got real child molesters not being prosecuted at all. That's that's the shit we're talking about. That this shit's being warped. You got people holding you for ransom. I was on my computer one time and somebody sent me one of them emails like, "Hey, send me $100 or I'm gonna let everybody know that you watch porn."
Good luck with that.
Like, yeah, like it's two things. One, I ain't got no money because you hit me. Like, I get paid on the 10th or 25th. If you hit me on the 23rd, I ain't gonna have shit.
Yeah, but if
you know.
people find out, they're like, what the fuck? Just like when everybody tried to, well, they were trying to out Sam Jackson for liking hentai porn. And I'm
Yeah.
like, people like, yo, leave that old man alone. Like, let him live.
Like he. So you ain't beat nobody up. He ain't took the pussy. He ain't drugged nobody. Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Right.
Get the fuck out. But that's also they're using the court of public opinion and they're ostracizing people for the wrong shit and not doing real justice. But that again, that has to do with, like I said, the reality show, that gossip mentality. Like I said, coming out of World War II, you wouldn't have done that. Like Roscoe, we wouldn't have done that shit. Coming out of World War II, you would never have talked about your neighbor or shit like that because your enemies could be anywhere. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of racism to the shit. I get that, but it was still a individual culture. Your home is your castle. Nobody should invade that physically or emotionally or mentally. None of that shit. Intellectually, none of that shit. So, yeah,
Check it out. So you cannot talk about the age of surveillance without talking about Shoshana Zuboff. Now, I mentioned her before on previous episodes, but her book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, is a really good book, and I strongly recommend all the listeners that are listening, or the people listening to this, check out that book. It's a powerful book. So it's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, The Fight for a Human Future at the New Frontier of Power. So some of the world's most powerful corporations practice what Shoshana Zuboff calls surveillance capitalism. So in the first half of the show, we discussed how the government spied on American citizens. Well, now we're talking about how those corporations, with the help of the government, is now spying on you, since the government made spying on American citizens a normal thing. So,
yep.
Unlike industrial capitalism, which profits from exploiting natural resources and labor, surveillance capitalism profits from the capture, rendering, and analysis of behavioral data through instrumentarian methods that are designed to cultivate radical indifference, a form of observation without a witness. Okay? I'll say that again. They're cultivating radical indifference, a form of observation without a witness. The surveillance capitalists found an untapped reservoir of information that their services were collecting for internal analytics and programming, and they saw an opportunity. They could sell the data exhaust to advertisers. Did you get that? They saw an
Yep.
opportunity to sell the data exhaust to advertisers. Okay. So it's like the beer manufacturers that sold the malt, the leftover malt from making beer, to companies that would then make malt liquor from that. So this surveillance capitalism is the malt liquor of the internet information age. This is
It's the
crazy.
residue.
Yeah. It's the swill. So for them, the humans attached to that data are just accessories. Wow. So the core of their business is harvesting, analyzing, and selling data about the people who use their products. But in Shoshana Zuboff's view, the first corporation to engage in surveillance capitalism was Google, followed by Facebook. Recently, firms such as Microsoft and Amazon have pivoted towards such a model. Karl Marx's analysis of relations between industrial capitalists and workers is closely analogous to the relations between surveillance capitalists and users. So you can compare this to Marxism. Furthermore, three problematic aspects of industrial capitalism that Marx describes: alienation, exploitation, and accumulation are also aspects in new forms of surveillance capitalism. Interesting. Alienation, exploitation, and accumulation in new forms. Wow. In new forms of surveillance capitalism. However, some Marx-inspired accounts of surveillance capitalism differs from hers over the nature of the exchange between users and surveillance capitalists. For Zuboff, this is akin either to robbery or the gathering of raw materials. On the Marx-inspired account, it is a voluntary sale. This difference has important implications for the question of how to resist surveillance capitalism. All right, let's stop right there and dig into that, because in the view of Marx, it's voluntary. So a communist or a Marxist, depending on how hard they go with that shit, or a socialist, is willing to do this voluntarily, which is why there's this culture of people now who are willing to give away their privacy because they're considered a good citizen, comrade.
But they don't see it that way. See, but this also, we talk about this on every podcast.
No. But that's the thing, though. They've been gaslit into seeing something they shouldn't.
That's not there.
That's not there, and in thinking things they shouldn't be thinking or saying. Oh, they've gaslit the shit out of these people, dude.
And they're saying crazy shit, thinking that they sound intelligent. The intelligentsia, as you always talk about, is the biggest way that they get these damn liberals involved, because the liberals are saying that we're the smarter party. Well, if you're so damn smart, then how come you ain't fix shit? But that's how they get you. I'm wearing a mask because the science. You ain't even reading no science. You saw a couple news reports and you agreed with them because because they agreed with you on something else. That's the whole hustle. It's not about intelligence. Give me the news should give you information and you should decide what to do with it. The news should not tell you what to do with the information they give you. That's not how this is supposed to work. But this is the point that you're just making, that like they're saying dumb shit thinking they're saying smart shit. Like, hey, I would definitely tell on my neighbor, or I'm going to wear I'm getting me a vaccine thing. I'm getting me one of them things because everybody else is doing it. That shit right there.
Wow, dude. Wow. Yeah, the comparison to Marxism is a trip with this surveillance capitalism. That's crazy. Because one is voluntary and the other is involuntary. But the point is,
true.
But listen though,
it's true.
The point is you want to get a bigger ratio or a sampling size of people that are willing to do it voluntarily, right? Because how many times do you get a new program? Hold on, let me say something. How many times do you get a free program and you don't read the fine print, the user agreement?
Nope.
That's
all you want to do is unzip that file. You want to use WinZip.
Unzip the shit and be like, all right, let's go. Yeah. Like there's like, it's like, you trying to have some sex. Like, you don't want to like read the condom and like what it says. Like, all right,
only use these on Thursdays. Yeah. For external use only. That always bugs my mind. Whenever you see that shit, external, I'm like, what the fuck was the nigga thinking?
Yeah.
If I eat the rubber, I'll be okay. What the fuck?
You're right. Exactly.
Who's that nigga? Who's that guy?
Right. So, but this is so crazy because But you had to create an environment first
Yes.
that would scare people into sacrificing their right to privacy. They had to. But it goes back to the Hegelian dialect and Frederick
Yes.
Hegel. You have to create the problem, but don't let them see you creating the problem, and then you bring the solution. Only let them see you bring the solution, and you look like the savior. You look like the good guy, and at that
You
point, they will willingly give away their rights.
you imprison yourself is what I was about to say. You literally imprison yourself based on the fact that you think that it's the best thing for you.
Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy, dude.
Look, stop spying on each other. That's what we're saying. Like, I guess it's cool to do. I think the first time this shit came to mind, I guess I forgot about this. Neighborhood watch. Okay, we already had neighborhood watch. I had two little old ladies across the street from me that told everybody, like, hey, if I got in trouble. If she called my mom, that's my ass. That was neighborhood watch. Now these other motherfuckers in these other neighborhood watch was a way for you to police people. That's not it. This is
Wow.
not about policing your neighbor. There's a difference. Neighborhood watch is a concern. Like, hey, somebody was in your yard, dude. Call the police. But this other shit where you're policing people, that's like the
Or you
OHA's
remember Crime Stoppers?
Yes.
For those who
That's
don't know,
you know,
Crime Stoppers, I mean, everybody had it in their town. They just called it a different thing. But Crime Stoppers in Omaha was basically a news blurb where they show a crime that was committed, and they show a photograph, a sketch, or
now they
CCTV
now they got video.
footage.
They didn't have video back then like that, but yeah, video. Yep, yep.
Yeah, they show
It,
video footage of somebody committing a crime. Then they like, if they can get that person's face, be like, if you see this person, call this number. Do you know anybody that ever got the reward money?
okay, that's complicated. I don't know anybody personally, but they're saying now that they if you read the fine print, it says you get paid if they get convicted, like, for
Yeah,
convictions. Number one,
right.
so a person getting arrested don't get you shit. Second, that they got like a whole number, and they if you want to, you can remain anonymous. I'm reading this shit. You can remain anonymous. It goes to a separate account. Nobody knows who you are. You get a special number. I'm like, that's a lot of fucking snitching. That's a lot of steps. I'm like, look,
And most people are not willing to follow through with the due diligence.
no. Look, I already told you there's a snitching union, because I told you I had somebody try to break in my house, and I called the police like, hey, I might be able to help you with a case, because these two young dudes ended up breaking into a house down the street, and I called the police. They never called me back. They said, hey, we'll have the detective call you. I'm like, I guess I didn't have the right proper handshake. So people who are snitching, they're elite. They're in a separate area. Like that confidential informant shit. You gotta earn that stripe. You know what I'm saying? The average person can't just call in and say like, "Hey, I'm a concerned citizen. I seen some shit." Nah, they will not call you
I
back. But
mean,
if
dude, like, you want to talk about a career snitch, Praz from the fucking Fugees.
but that also goes back to to two
I mean,
podcasts ago
fucking
where
John Forte. This
yeah,
motherfucker, he probably snitched on John Forte
but that's also why he felt comfortable what he was doing
with Jack
yeah,
Lowe,
Jack Lowe, because I
Joe Lowe.
Joe Lowe. See, the thing is, when people start doing grimy shit, and then the government or your handlers reaches out like, we need you to do this, they feel confident, like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not doing. And you don't even think about if you're doing anything. Doing something wrong doesn't even cross your mind, your mental. You feel what I'm saying? Like, uh, you asked me, you did me a favor, I'm doing you a favor. But then all of a sudden, now you're indicted, and you're like, wait a minute. I, I snitched on 19 people for you. What about that? Yeah, but you still broke the law. So it just shows you that nobody respects a snitch. Not even the motherfuckers that use you respect you. They don't care about you. You're not elite. And that's always been the thing. Remember, we talked about, oh boy, during the Haitian Revolution, who did they get rid of first? The sympathizers. They killed the sellouts before they killed the white folks, before they killed the French, before they killed the oppressors. If for any revolution to work, you got to get rid of the sympathizers first, just so y'all know. So y'all sellout niggas, you know, you gone.
Wow.
But nowadays it's hard to tell who the sellouts are, because a lot of these motherfucking liberals are sellouts, but they think they're not. That's another conversation.
Anyway, the purpose of this episode is to illustrate the origins of the surveillance state in the age of the internet, and to make you aware of how it started, who's involved, and how it continues, and
To this day, yeah.
and also, once you're aware of these things, there's ways you can protect yourself. So look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.